Okay, let's get started with 3 examples for angle. And what are we going to do first? Well, I do notice we have 2 triangles in here. And in order to use angle, we need 2 angles to be congruent, to match up. Notice angles are never going to be proportional. Angles are going to be congruent. So we want actually congruent angles. So I first notice A and Z are congruent. They're both 60 degrees. But what I'm frustrated with is this triangle has a 50 degrees and this triangle has a 70. I'm using a different color in here. And they're not matching up. So it looks like we're stuck because we only have one angle, but if you look closer using the angle sum theorem, angle B turns out to be 70 and angle Y turns out to be 50. This is great news now, because now look at this color coordination. I have 2 angles matching up. We have just now showed you that these 2 triangles are similar. And keep in mind, we have one more set of angles matching up as well, because if we get 2 angles to match up, we're going to get all 3. So I've clearly showed you here with 3 different colors that all 3 angles are matching up. We didn't need all 3, we just needed 2, because once again, if you get 2, you automatically get 3. And so yes, these 2 are similar because of angle. And now we have to write a similarity statement, not a congruent statement. A congruent statement is one triangle is congruent to another. A similarity statement is one triangle is similar to another triangle, and we have to fill in the letters here in a very careful way so the letters match up. And we've done this before in the past. So I'm going to use the first triangle over here, and I'm just going to arbitrarily say ABC. And what I'm looking for is the angle that matches up with A needs to correspond and match up with the angle I put in this position, and that's going to be Z. Then I'm going to use B next, and that has to match up and correspond to the second letter I put in that triangle, and that's going to be X. And then in the last one, I know that C has to match up with Y. So I just wrote my similarity statement showing you what 2 triangles are similar. There's lots of ways to do this, but the most important ingredient is getting the letters to match up and how they correspond to one another. Let's do another example of angle. Well, once again, I see 2 triangles here, but I see a different twist. I see this side is parallel to that side. So what I want you to realize right away from prior knowledge is if we have parallel lines, you should recognize that 1 and 3 are congruent. Why are 1 and 3 are equal? Because of alternating interior angles. We learned that a long time ago. And what else is congruent? Well, angle 2 would be congruent to angle 4. They're alternating interior angles as well. So right now, we just did it. Those 2 triangles are similar because of angle. And keep in mind, the third angles match up as well. Whoops. And what would the third angles be? Well, that would be 5 matches up with 6 because they're vertical. So now I'm going to write a similarity statement. So how would I do that? So I'm going to say A, B, E, and A matches up with C, B matches up with B, and E matches up with D. So there we go. There's just another example of getting 2 triangles to be similar because of angle. And we wrote a similarity statement. Let's do one more. This one has 3 triangles, and I'm going to color code them. Notice we know everything about this green triangle in here, all of its angles. That's good. This yellow larger triangle, I know just a little bit about that one. I know that one's 60. And this last one in here, this little blue triangle, we only know one angle here. So I'm a little frustrated because I want angle. And sometimes stuff is similar, sometimes it's not. But let's still do a little investigating here. What I do notice, what we haven't used yet, is another set of parallel sides. And so what I notice, if they're parallel sides, I don't necessarily see alternating interior angles here. What I do see is 40 degrees is congruent to 40 degrees over here because they're corresponding angles with respect to the parallel lines. So now, if you relook at the yellow triangle, I know 2 out of the 3 angles. So if you use the angle sum theorem, that has to be 80. And if you look at the blue triangle, now we know 2 out of the 3 angles. This one has to be 60. So if I'm now looking at all 3 triangles in here, it turns out all 3 triangles have the same exact angles. 40, 60, 80, 40, 60, 80, 40, 60, 80. So now our job is to write a similarity statement that involves 3 triangles, because all 3 triangles here are similar. So I'm going to take the green one first and write A, B, C. And what I want you to do is keep in mind A is corresponding to 40, B is corresponding to 60, and C is corresponding to 80. So those numbers have to correspond to the letters that I put down in the last 2 triangles here. Let's do the yellow one first. So the yellow one next. And what 3 letters are going to correspond to the green triangle? Well, the 40 is angle D, the 60 is G, and the 80 is F. And let's do the blue triangle last here. Which one corresponds to 40? Well, that's angle D, 60 is E, and the 80 is C. So once again, these 3 triangles are similar because of angle, and I wrote a similarity statement based upon all 3 triangles. Let's take a little break.